on top of the world, about to jump above it. Take it straight to the moon, 'cause we know how to rock it. Ain't no thing you can do, ain't no way to stop it. Now you feeling it too, let's get it started. Throw your hands in the air while the beat is dropping. Acting like you don't care when everybody's watching. Just keep whipping your hair like that, you got it. Yeah, you're feeling it too, let's get it started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Off the meter, turn it up, blow the speakers, make them all to believers, break through the surface, tell them open the curtains, give them all what they wanted, yeah, now let's get it started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. Yeah, I'm ready, ready. I'm ready. Are you ready, ready? I'm ready. Let's get it started. Yeah, yeah, I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Let's go. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it, get it. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me something new. Time to break it loose. Take it to another level. Now we on the move. Shout if you coming with me. Going over the limit. On your mark, keep it steady. So tell me, are you ready? I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to the virtual Darlington Raceway. We're ready to go here tonight for the next round of the, I think I said Dover Motor Speedway. That's next week for the Sim 500 series. We welcome you to Darlington. We welcome you to Darlington. We're ready to go here tonight for, of course, our coverage, iRacing on LSRTV and on the Community Radio Network. Darlington, the Lady in Black, ready to go here after an Easter break. It's going to be an exciting race. We're excited. One quick turnaround right on to another one. And John Mustian called the Sim 500. Now I am joined by Justin Prince. Justin, Darlington is just what Darlington is. It's a mile egg-shaped track, unique differences around the racetrack from the corners to the straightaways. You just have to race it however way you can, and we're going to see the same thing like we saw with the trucks on Thursday night with these next-gen cars. What do you think we'll see with this obstacle course?
Well, when it comes to this racetrack tonight, it's going to be extremely difficult to get yourself around grip-wise. It's a very slippery circuit, especially when it comes to next-gen machinery. It's also the type of racetrack, with how difficult Darlington is in general, that you need to be precise with. You have to be careful in your movements around the circuit. Be careful in how you handle the tires in themselves. In other words, tonight's going to be a wrestling match for just about everybody to make sure they don't lose control.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're going to see how things go here as we do welcome you to round number 7 of the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. The trucks put on a phenomenal show the other night. Now we're going to see what these Cup cars can do as these drivers do get ready to go. And we welcome you, of course, birthday boy Charles Wooten, Jeff Stab. Now they're in the production for Live Sim Racing and Rocket Media, and we look forward to this race here. Thanks, everybody that's watching. For those, share. If you care, you must share. For those listening, we're ready to go as well. Charles, Justin, we talked about this during pre-race, and me and John talked about it in the Talladega race earlier, and I'll get your thoughts now as well. What's your take of the iRacing Next Gen Cup car for the Northwest Cup Series as we move to week 7 tonight?
Well, for many drivers, it's been the difference of the preparation as well as the difficulty of the race car, right? For some drivers, it's been get it behind them, behind the wheel, should say. They're able to settle on down, really get themselves nailed together when it comes to this car. For others, it's been a massive learning curve, especially when it comes to the feeling in the steering wheel, how you control the car in general, the fifth gear in particular, and the forward motion for the gearbox. That's all been a major learning pattern for a lot of the drivers, and I think tonight, a racetrack such as this will really be a testament to which drivers have been able to sort things out the first few weeks on speedways, and which drivers are still trying to figure out how to handle that egg underneath the throttle, so to speak, to make sure they don't snap their way to the inside wall.
We're going to look at the point standings as we move into tonight's events here for this series. Of course, Season 3 of the Cup Cars. Looking at the point standings moving into tonight. Caden Anderson. We talked about what he's doing in the trucks. He's doing the same thing in the Cup Series. Justin, he has the points lead by 21 over the driver of Lake Peterson. Lake Peterson has 2 wins. Caden Anderson has 2 wins. Brian Barnes doing what he needs to do methodically and consistently with points finishes. Right now is sitting third in the points, only 31 back. Then you've got 35 back to Sean Brightsman, 44 back to Cole Raz. That's the top 5. And honestly, Justin, if you're within the top 15 in the points, you're still less than 100 points behind. You still got a shot to be in the hunt for things here.
Especially when it comes to so many races to go on the calendar to get yourself in position to battle for the championship. But the main thing you have to consider is, if you want to be able to secure yourself points-wise to make sure you maintain eligibility if you pick up the victory, you need to start getting some solid finishes. Races like Darlington are going to be, I think, very critical for later down the line and how things fare out as the drivers have wrapped up their qualifying, Wesley.
They certainly have. Man, they flew by fairly quickly, and we're ready to go now with the starting lineup. By the way, 34 drivers are ready to go here tonight. Let's give you the Team 126 Racing starting grid as we're ready to go for round 7 here tonight at the Darlington Raceway. On the pole out of Hermiston, Washington. Back again, the 00. Kevin Smith to the outside. Cole Raz, the Daytona Cup winner, the truck winner, by the way, here for the trucks at Darlington on Thursday night. Last Thursday, he is on the front row. Row 2 will find Stephen O'Hare in 41, Casey Garber in 94. Row 3, Chris White and Dan West Jr., defending champion for the Cup and the Truck Series on row 3. Row 4, Dan Lowther, 63. Brian Barnes, I mentioned him consistently in the top 5 in points. Toby Ritter's a top 3 truck finish at Darlington. What will he do in the Cup car? Jeff Stabnow, no practice last Thursday. He had a solid finish. He starts 10th in row 5.
Row 6 will feature the number 53 of Carl Burke, starting alongside the 11 machine of Frank Harris. Those drivers half a second off the pole time. Row 7, Troy Daggett in the 37078. DJ Duvall to the outside in the 85. Then, following behind them is Aaron Cooper in the 71 and Chris Camary and his at the number 15. Behind them, towards the middle of the pack, is Robert Gambill in 17th. 54 alongside the 89 of John Ottenbacher. Rounding out the top 20, the 58 of Stephen Paulson, 02 of Matt Gelder.
Angel Ortega will start in number 21 position. To his outside, Ryan Bloom. Row number 12 will find Sean Brightsman at 46 and Brian Reynolds alongside the 12. 33, Dean Moore, Tristan Wood, row 13. Row 14 on the grid will find Scott Hutchinson and Tyler King. Alex Duda, the 16. 22, Ron Hunter, the top 30. And the rest of the rundown includes Dana Rogers in the 07, Tyler Kim in the 30, Casey Duncan in 33, and Troy Daggett in the number 51. There's your starting lineup as the field is ready to go here. This will be 147 laps, just shy of 200 point miles. Same distance as what we saw the other night. For the Truck Series, the same for the Cup Cars. Should be an exciting one. Getting ready to strap in here. And tonight's onboard camera, presented by North Carolina 811, is Sean Brightsman. And who better to keep an eye on throughout the night there, Justin?
Going to be intriguing how he plays things out strategy-wise, but the drivers are just about all set to go at the front of the field, Wesley. Let's get to it.
Ready. Pace car coming down onto the pit lane. They're in the Geico starting box. Green flag goes in the air. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a virtual race Round 7 at Darlington. The best drivers of the virtual Pacific Northwest send their chariots as virtuals go fast into turn 2, and Kevin Smith jumps out to the early lead.
Things settling down for the most part off the launch. The top 4 building up a bit of a buffer to the rest of the pack, getting single file. But Kevin Smith tried to wrap around about a half a lane from the top line. Coming out of turn 4, Kevin Smith leads the first time around.
Opening lap given to Kevin Smith. This race, 147 laps the distance. We're already working lap number 2 as they're all working their way around the egg-shaped Darlington Raceway. One car losing ground with the pack with 145 to go, Justin, and that is Troy Daggett. He's already a lap down in his own little world, in his own little place around the racetrack, losing ground by half a straightaway to the pack as they work the start-finish. He's now working his way to turn 3, and we got problems. Trouble on the racetrack. Oh, my goodness, trouble. Dan Lowther involved.
No caution. We stay green as Lowther stays a little racing surface. He gets himself looped around. He was right in front of the battle going on for 7th position. And that's built up a buffer between Brian Barnes and Jeff Stabnell on track. Another to the inside wall. 12th place, BJ Duvall down the backstretch. No caution.
And you got to remember, too, we saw this the other night in the truck race, Justin, and we see it several times. By the way, this might be the last hurrah for Will Duvall as he's committed to running the World of Outlaw Pro Series coming up next week. And his schedule might change where he can't commit for at least the next 6 or 7 weeks. As right now, Kevin Smith leads the way. Cole Raz in 2nd spot. O'Hare, Garber, White. That's the way it stands. Justin, you see Chris White. He's in the green and white STP number 6. The same colors that he drove with the truck, he has with the car here tonight at Darlington. And by the way, we're 4 laps in already.
Lots of slipping and slide into the heart of the pack. Keep in mind the separation amongst the top 8 are nearly 3 seconds. And for Chris White down the back straightaway trying to build up the run. Can't get to it quite yet for KC Garber. So the driver stable this time amongst the front runners into 3 and 4.
All the while here at Darlington, Smith, Raz, O'Hare, Garber, and White top 5. West, Barnes, Stabnow, Ritters, and Burke top 10. You got to strategize yourself. And as we were talking to some of the audience during the first race we covered with the Sim 500 Cup cars at Talladega, Justin, obviously not in addition to the difference of the size of the track first, but also understanding Lowther went around again, no caution flag. We still stay green, and the reason why he's below the apron of the racetrack. And Justin, here's the deal. This track is its own animal, just like what we saw at Talladega about 20 minutes ago for Sim 500. What a wild finish that was. The same can be said about what we're going to see here tonight at Darlington.
Absolutely, and for many of the drivers, they've been trying to pick their spots so far. You see right there, Chris White taking 3-4 laps to set up the move this time to get by KC Garber. He moves up 1 spot so far in this one off turn 4. That has to be the focus for many tonight.
Caution, out now, 3rd time's a charm after problems for Lowther. Now we do see the yellow flag come out for the first time here at Darlington as the field will slow down off of turn number 2 to the back straightaway. We'll pick up where the caution flag is as they work down the Boeing back stretch. Yellow flag on lap number 7 of this race. And we are trying to pinpoint where it's gone wrong for one of these drivers as our first caution flag of the evening waves here at Darlington.
I believe it may have been Tyler Kim who spun down the middle of the back straightaway in particular. And the difference, keep in mind, with all the seams you may notice around the racetrack is around a certain point, it gets high enough to where it does trigger the caution along that bottom portion of the straightaway. Yep. And it was Tyler Kim, I believe, who may just got around that very edge of that mark to trigger the yellow flag. Self-spin coming off of turn 2.
So the yellow flag coming out. We're trying to find where the accident has taken place. And they're understanding from our colleague here that it's Tyler Kim in the 30. We're just trying to clarify, check back and look, and we prepare for a Pulse Poppers instant replay. Yellow flag coming out again early in the going. And Justin, here's something you mentioned as well, and we just hinted on it earlier when Lowther had his problems. You might see cars spin down below the bottom of the apron, but they got to get up into that second, third racing groove on the racetrack before iRacing will throw a yellow, before the series admins will throw a caution, because they consider that not in the racing groove on the bottom and in the first two grooves. You got to be up in the banking for the caution to fly. Here's the reason why we're under yellow flag, and your take on that, bud.
Kim had the issue for the first part, but here's a look at the other incident that may have happened around the same near time. This is around turn 4. See how loose things get around the front into the wall indeed, and ends up having tech issues to the inside wall. Don't believe that was the trigger, but as mentioned, Kim was that said trigger. 2 different incidents happened around the same time.
Yeah, Ron Hunter and then Kim with a problem there as well. But again, Justin, we reiterate, you got to be up in the racing group for them to trigger the caution.
Yes, indeed, and that's the tough thing for a track like Darlington is because of how wide the apron is and how much space drivers in turn tend to slide down there. It's very difficult to get a caution here, even though how difficult this track is to stay clean at in particular, where you really need to hope for a bit of luck if you're some of the drivers, if you do make a mistake and lose several seconds or pound that inside wall.
10 laps completed in this 147 lap contest. Right now we do have 136 laps to go. By the way, there is a 2-hour window. They were given 4 sets of tires, as well as the set of tires that they were given at the start of the race at the green. Some cars have just come to the pit lane in the back, like Frank Harris, Troy Daggett, who was multiple laps down on the start. Roy Grande, Scott Hutchinson, Ron Hunter also getting fixed for damage. So all of those cars right now getting work done here on the pit lane.
And it's the type of racetrack to keep in mind where we've seen with this type of car get very significant damage. It can really hurt your race long term. There is one fast repair available in this series, but for a lot of the drivers, they've already gotten towards the mark where they may have to already use one. For example, Ron Hunter, he's already out of the race car. He might have had that opportunity, but he's got the already mandatory repairs to have to do, for example. But the other thing to consider, Wesley, outside of that part, the drivers were instructed for today, restarts on green only here tonight.
So remember, on lap number 2, Dan Lowther crashed. He crashed again on lap 5, and then he did also again on lap 5, along with the 30 of Tyler Kim before it triggered the yellow flag. Caution fell again on lap number 7:06 into the race. On lap number 5, it triggered the caution. So right now we have 135 laps to go. Working lap number 11. Lights are off on the pace car. We'll settle up for the restart. Of course, Raz looking to try to sweep the events, if you will. He won the event on Thursday night with the truck. Samuel and myself was on the call for that one after the Easter break. We were off last Monday night for the Easter break. Justin and I was. We're back here again tonight. And Justin, as we get ready for the restart, as the field will make their way back to the Geico restart zone with Raz, Smith, White, O'Hare, and West, the top 5, we settle in for 5-6 weeks of racing after tonight, with 6 weeks before Memorial Day.
Busy stretch of races, to say the very least, but Kevin Smith, he's elected to go early here. Before the green flag trigger, we'll see if this gets looked towards. He's up and away, single file into turn 1. Several of the other drivers behind him also able to settle down.
Restart back out, back underway here at Darlington Raceway. Field settles off the corner out of 2. Down the back straightaway, down the Boeing backstretch, heading to Winston Tower. Kevin Smith, a little ink and blink and nod. He'll hold on to the lead, though. Raz, O'Hare, White behind him. They're all up on the top shelf as they work out of 4.
Hearing some bumping and banging, the 53. Caution flag is out around Sean. Oh, Reitzman and company stacking up off of turn 4. More stacking up around the middle of the exit. Carl Burke in the center of it from 14th position gets turned around for the battle for the spot. We're under caution.
So understanding that Breitzman, Burke, all those cars right there in that pack, we'll find it. We'll get you that Pulse Poppers instant replay. And under the yellow flag, and you know, Justin, the old cliche, cautions breed cautions. It happens again here on lap number 13.
And I think in this case, it wasn't the issue of a driver getting too loose. It was with the Pulse Poppers instant replay, you'll see the instance of drivers going a little bit too deep and a little aggressive for this point. Camary had already tried to set up a pass down the backstretch, nearly made contact when he realized he wasn't going to get his initial run towards the bottom. It's hard to pass on a low line, but right there, gets into the quarter panel of Burke, and that stacks everyone up. You have Ottenbacher get in, then 2, 3 more cars stack up into it.
I'm actually surprised, Justin, that didn't turn out worse than what it looked like. I thought it was the ingredients for about a 20, 25-car pileup, shades of Talladega, if you will, for the Northwest drivers like we saw in Sim 500. But they all hold their line, and only about 4 or 5 cars get involved in it. We're under the yellow flag here for the second time. Do you pit, or is it still too early in the going right now, Justin?
I think for some, it's too early in going, but here's the tough thing. I think Toby Ritter's just had a technical issue on the racetrack. He was running in the top 10 and slammed the wall under caution under the pace lap into 1, and everyone had to dodge him. He's already put his car on the tow truck, it appears. Toby Ritter's massive technical issue may be done for now.
Problems for Toby Ritters, as it does say he crashed on lap 15. Working on that. By the way, drivers involved in the most recent caution include, just 13 minutes into this race on a 2-hour time limit, Chris Camary crashed, John Ottenbacher, Carl Burke, and Toby Ritters, as my colleague Justin just reiterated on. We go back under the yellow flag here at the Darlington Raceway. Kevin Smith, Hermiston, Washington native, in the 00 is the Ford. He's got a win in the Truck Series earlier this year at Richmond. Looking for a Cup Series win for at least the first time this year. I believe he is a former Cup winner on the Northwest Racing Series Cup Series. 1 win. If I'm going back into the all-time stats, if you will, trying to follow about Kevin Smith here. But, you know, Justin, it's hard to win in a series that is just so competitive. You followed for a number of years here as well.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to break away and break through for victory. And for some, it comes pretty quickly, depending on how things fare out. But for others, it may take 10, 20, 30, 40, something odd races at least to be able to secure a victory. To answer your question, Kevin Smith doesn't have a Cup victory.
He has
but
2 truck wins.
Yes, he's come close in Cup. Remember back to Homestead, for example, November the 8th, 2021 during Season 2. Second place run that day. He's finished second as well at the Indianapolis Road Course, second at Sebring. A very solid driver who just hasn't been able to finish at the front at the very end. But here's the thing I've noticed with Kevin Smith. Before, on that first run of the race, even when you factor in a little bit of the attrition marks, he was up to 2 tenths quicker than the rest of the pack, and this was one of his best tracks when he ran in the ARCA Series a couple years ago.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're looking at these stats here as well, and he does have an ARCA well as Hill, so for sure. 2 wins. Richmond, Indy, and that is the Indianapolis Road Course, might we add, that Justin and I was talking about, and then 3 times in the Cup Series runner-up finishes, but never a win. Lights are off for the pace car. It's Kevin Smith and Cole Raz, along with Stephen O'Hare, Chris White, Dan West Jr., Kenneth Garber, Jeff Stabnow, Barnes, Gamble, Cooper, top 10. Justin, let's go to Stabnow real quick. Somehow, some way, he's got to find a way to get off the schneid and get back to victory lane in the Northwest. I know he's hungry. Ready, coming back to green.
Starting in 7th spot, indeed. A little bit of a stack by the inside as they're backing away. Kevin Smith went a little bit later towards that green flag trigger. He tries to settle out single file first side by side. Dan West Jr. forced the bottom. On the outside, trying to build up the run, Brian Barnes. Barnes giving a squeeze in the backdrop, but still, it's West Jr. able to get the rotation. That box is stabbed down as the top 4 try and pull away.
On the top side, they work around the corner with Smith, Raz, O'Hare, White, Garber. There they are. You see that green and white number 6 machine. A throwback to Richard Petty when he drove that car.
Trouble front straightaway. Carl Burke hard into the wall. Several others scatter about. Spinning on the inside is Tyler King. We're back under caution as Frank Harris also slams the wall. 4 or 5 cars Hard collisions off turn 4 down the front.
Caution out for the third time here as we approach lap number 20. Justin, you saw it break loose down the front straightaway.
Coming off of turn 4 in particular is where it happened, and it all happened at near full speed, where it's Alex Duda, who is 23rd position, drifted down a bit into the right rear of Dean Moore. That ended up triggering chaos as drivers tried to dart their way to the apron. And even though there's a lot of space, Wesley, on said apron, here's the tough thing when it comes to being able to dodge trouble. With the Pulse Poppers Instant Replay, you'll see, if you aren't able to predict the right line, it's kind of difficult to miss said troubles. Here's Burt, for example. It happens just up the road from him. With that little drift right there, he picks the line towards the correct inside. He overcorrects towards the inside because of the lack of grip. That's difficult with this car. Big damage picked up. Tyler Kane also picked up huge damage from that as well.
Caution out. We're coming up on the top of the hour. This would be a great opportunity for us to pause for radio coverage for 10 seconds of network identification and take a quick TV break as well. This is iRacing on LSRTV and the Community Radio Network from Darlington.
You're listening to the Community Radio Network. Follow us via social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CRN Sports. Plus, listen to the games at 87.5 FM or join us anywhere worldwide at wearecrn.com. We are CRN.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
When do you plan on putting in that new fence we've been talking about since last summer?
I guess I could start tomorrow.
Protect the ones you love and protect your buried utilities by contacting 811 before you dig, either by phone, the web, or the NC 811 app. Know what's below before you dig. Visit nc811.org to learn more.
Third caution here tonight at Darlington. Justin and Wesley back here with you. Thanks for those that are joining us on the Community Radio Network. Hey, by the way, tomorrow we've got triple header coverage for you. We've got a double header for baseball. I'll be on the call for that one along with Jackie Zinn and Mark Coates as the Willow Spring Storm travel into Clayton. We got that for you. JV 4 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern varsity. Bruce Barrett will be on the call for varsity softball as the Clayton team begin their stretch in the final 2 weeks of regular season play before a run for the state championships. Also coming up this week, racing, just like iRacing, Monday and Thursday. Friday night, it's the Accident Imaging 150 with iRacing, of course, Monday and Thursday for the Northwest. And Justin, third caution in this race. Your take of what we've seen so far at Darlington. Is it typical with this car?
Sort of is, as we've already indicated here, where it's a difficult car to drive, but this was one of the trends in practice as well, where drivers were really battling with the race car for corner exit grip. And it's really been a major part of a lot of these incidents so far, the ones that haven't brought out a caution and have brought out a caution. And that balance, I think, is going to be very pivotal if you're many of these competitors here to figure things out if you want to be able to win this race, especially knowing the drivers up towards the front, they've been able to keep it nice and calm. They've got nice and clean race cars in turn. The drivers about 11th on back. It's a very different story.
Well, with that being said, the lights are about to go off for the pace car. They are extinguished. We'll get ready to bring the field back around to the restart zone, and we will try this again after already 3 caution flags in this race with still 124 laps to go. It'll be 123 remaining when they come back to the Geico restart zone and take the green flag. Settling up here, 00 and 10 on the front row. That's, of course, Cole Raz, the driver on the inside. He takes the outside for the restart. To the outside, of course, is Raz. Inside is Kevin Smith, leader option for the restart. Outside preferred And what better lane than on the outside lane? Green flag going Raz. Kevin Smith battles back on the bottom. They're side by side as they go back into turn number 1. Raz to the lead, and he pulls away by 2 car lengths as the battle now continues for second and third as White and O'Hare try to run down Smith, but they get split, and Smith gets sideways, slams the inside safer wall barrier, comes back up the racetrack, and at least he'll fall back into the clutches of the top 15 as he'll go back on track on lap 25.
Unbelievable mistake for Kevin Smith. Leads the first 22+ laps, and after losing the lead for the first time, throws all the track position away. He's now dropped all the way to the back of the group. As a result of that mistake, more cars hitting the walls in and around him, but it's Cole Raz who runs away from the pack down the back.
I don't know if there's a way we can catch a replay of what just happened there just a moment ago, but my goodness, what a save as White's up in the wall, defending champion. The 0-0 about just literally took himself out and maybe more, and I believe that's just the knowledge and experience he's gained, Justin, to get on the binders and quickly drop below the apron to avoid any calamity, and in doing so, it's put himself from the penthouse to the snake's patch. Don't say he's in the outhouse just yet. He's at least in that hornet's nest in the top 20 as they work back to turn 1.
Back through turns 3 and 4. In fact, right now trying to sort things out with Chris White. As a result of that mistake, he lost at least 3/10 of the race leader last time by. 120 laps to go this upcoming time by. O'Hare, the fastest of the top 5 last time by. Trying to settle on the top line, back to the back straightaway to get a good run. Chris White losing ground as a result of some of the damage.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as they work their way back across the stripe. This time by as the field will settle in here for 30 laps. By the way, not as many contenders in the front have either pitted as well. They stay up on the top side, rim riding up against that famed red and white wall from back in the day when they celebrated the Winston colors and the throwback colors of the throwback race. Coming up in a few weeks for real at Darlington in 2 weeks. Raz, O'Hare, White, West, Garber, top 5. Dan West Jr. trying to size up West the champion White as they go to 3.
All trying to settle themselves down. Garber trying to run a different line, run the Zach Novak line along the edge of the bottom groove. Tries to get the pole on corner exit. Able to close up a little bit as Dan West Jr. tries to settle in front with the next spot in for him and Chris White. Well, them fighting for third on back towards the top, to the front, to the back straightaway this time.
Working their way back around off the corner. Here they come back down the back straightaway. Now back down the Boeing back straightaway. No one jumping out of line. Remember at one time, Darlington Raceway, that was the front straightaway. Treacher's turn 4 in the movie Days of Thunder, and back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s was turn number 2 today, and we got trouble. Caution is out.
It's Tristan Wood and Chris Camary who bring out the next yellow. Side by side off turn 2.
Wow.
They bounced and banged off each other a touch bit off the turn 2. The edit sent Wood around, collecting Troy Daggett and several more as they slid back up into the racing surface, Wesley.
Multiple cars involved, including Troy Daggett, Tristan Wood, Dana Rogers, Toby Ritters has got a piece of it. Caution out as we approach lap number 30 for the 4th time. Justin Prince with another recap as we show the replay.
And keep in mind, Camary, despite the damage, still doing a solid job before this incident, trying to hold on to the outside line, but watch the exit of turn 2. They get very, very close. Within about a couple inches of each other right there is enough to send Wood to the inside. You have the 51 fall suit as well. They then pinball each other. That sends Wood to the racing line, right into the path of Dean Moore.
And several cars just slamming into each other. And all the while, nowhere to go. The 51 also caught up in it. My. Caution out, and we do got activity on the pit lane. Almost the entire leaders in the top 15 come to the pits for pit stops, Justin.
Onto the tracks is Cole Raz. He overran the start of his pit stall, trying to take a little bit of time to get himself going. Now on the left side tires. Meanwhile, at the end of the pit lane, the number 4 machine, Brian Barnes, off and away on his service. 4 tires. The name of the game for much of the drivers coming down this time, except for one, Sean Breitzman, elected to take fuel only that pit stop. That gets him to 8th on track.
So work being done. Here comes Barnes. Popsicle Camaro, Toyota, right there, the Camry. Matco Tools also on that machine. And the yellow flag coming out. There's Barnes, the man that, as I mentioned, Justin, been very consistent. And look who's up in the front of the catbird seat right now. Jeff Stabnow back to the lead. Hey, let's go on board real quick while we're under caution. Sean Brightsman, our NC811 call before you dig driver cam. And he is back up there, Justin, to 7th position right there. He had some problems earlier in the race. There he is right there. Calm, cool, collective, the triple C's. Nobody knock on that door. Do not disturb. Justin, he's back in the top 10.
And this isn't a surprise to see the strategy gambles, keep in mind, when it comes to Sean Brightsman. He's been known in this series for the past few years in particular. Someone who will take 2 tires in a late race restart scenario. Maybe fuel only in this type of the scenario. And it's worked for him a couple times. Atlanta comes to mind a few weeks back, for example, that got him track position. And he maintained that track position for just about the rest of the way. And here's the thing, even though he's got the driver's 4 tires and right behind him, the longest run of the race had been about 6 or so laps, a couple times over. So in other words, it's not too bad of a wear. He also had, I believe, came in before when he was in the middle of the pack to try something different. So that opened up, I think, this chance for him to try something different to see if this will be able to hold on. He does have 2 others who are on different strategies themselves. John Ottenbacher and Tyra Kane are both ahead. Keep in mind, both have had to use fast repairs and or manual repairs already.
Yeah, they certainly have. And he is our NC811 driver cam. Sean Brightsman got a smile on his face. He knows there's still a long way to go. The 2-time champion of the Northwest Cup Series right there. Actually, 2020 Northwest Cup Series champion. Last year was Chris White, by the way. He's up there in that pack as well after pit stops. Let's set it up now, the top 10 for you. Jeff Stabnow leads. How about Cooper? He is up to 2nd, the number 71 machine. Aaron Cooper, Bug Eyes is what I call him. He is up to 2nd. Duncan 3rd, Kim 4th. Guys that had problems earlier, John, were involved in cautions also, Justin. They are all the way back up now in the top 10 as we get ready to go back to green.
Well, that's partly because of the different gambles here, and I don't blame him after how many green flag laps have been turned so far, but it's a big risk at a track like Darlington. It's still estimated to be about a 2-stopper. If it goes green from here, those who pit are in a decent spot, but Jeff Stabnow with a great start.
Back underway, green flag as they filled roars back through the Geico restart zone at the virtual Darlington Raceway. They hit right back up on the top shelf. And quickly to the whip. It's Stabnow reeling in. Aaron Cooper wants his shot to be in the spotlight. By
Double
the way,
turn 2. John Ottenbacher gets turned. Into the inside wall goes O'Hare. They slam in. Also going around is Kevin Smith. He holds on to it down the middle of the straightaway, but another stack up right in the heart of the drivers mixing up the strategies. We're under caution.
And O'Hare slams into the inside, safe for wall barrier. A couple of other cars had to slam to get on the binders as they almost crashed. Going to turn number 3. Yellow flag out for the 5th time. Back to Justin Prince for what happened in turn 2.
And this started with a bit of the battling going on amongst those who had stayed out for the last caution flag. Ottenbacher, not as great of an exit off turn 2. Gets clipped to the inside. That sends O'Hare right to the safer barrier.
And then it seemed like he was stuck trying to rev the engine, trying to get broke away possibly from the wall. The other car was able to scamper along as Stephen O'Hare and John Ottenbacher. How about John Ottenbacher, the Daytona truck winner earlier this year? 2-time truck winner for the trucks at Daytona. Ottenbacher involved in that incident. Jeff Stabnow. Can we grab Jeff Stabnow? Can we get a word with him under caution? Or do you think we should just do not disturb him, Justin? Don't jinx him. What do you think?
I think it's mostly up to him, partly because, well, there are 4 drivers who have not pitted all this race. He leads that said grouping. Then you have Tyler King, a little bit fresher tires. He's in 5th, but everybody else who pitted into the last caution right on behind. Brightsman with no tires taking that caution. Everybody else on fresh Goodyear Eagles. That balance is going to be very difficult, as I believe he is indeed jumped on in.
And the question is, as we work the 5th caution, Jeff Stabnow, well, how's the car? You didn't get any practice for the truck. You had a flawless race, had some problems on track. This car looks really good tonight. Did you get some practice before the Cup ride and the Billings, Montana 24s out in front?
Oh, yeah, we were able to get some laps in last night, so feel as comfortable as you can on this car on a track like this right now. It's still, even with laps under your belt, it's a feeling out process.
Now, you, of course, got this track position with being able to stay out under the caution flag the previous time around here. How are you feeling about that set decision right now where, yes, you're the leader, but right now the drivers on fresh tires are about 7th on back when you factor in Brightsman taking just fuel only last caution?
Yeah, I felt like we were taking it pretty easy up front there, getting single file and just trying to get a run started. So I don't think we used up a lot of tire there, even on the little bit of green flag run we had. So maybe the guys on fresher tires are a little bit faster, but I don't think there's a significant difference.
Jeff, final question, and we'll let you go because you got to get ready for the restart. What's your take of this this next-gen car and where we're at so far as we've, at least in 7 weeks into racing, and we've had the short track swing, the big speedway, and, of course, now the intermediate track?
Yeah, this car is incredibly fun to drive if you can get green flag laps going. The inputs are extremely touchy early in the run. It's almost impossible to save once you get the rear to wiggle. So, yeah, it's hard to drive, man. I think it's a great car, but, we've got to get past this early aggressiveness that keeps bringing out these cautions.
I don't want to jinx you, but could tonight be the night?
I hope so.
All right, we'll let you go, man. Get back on focus. There's the driver. And a lap around with the driver to Billings, Montana, Jeff Stabnow, looking for a win. It was back at Mossport last 2 years ago, 2020, the last time he won a Northwest competition event in the Truck Series. We're ready now, Justin, to try to see what he can do to go back to victory lane. He's got a good drive right now in that LSRTV CRN 4K Ford.
Still going to be a difficult task, but he does have a lot of buffer cars between him and those drivers on the fresher rubber. And I think that's going to be a very critical thing. He mentioned as well the amount of saving taken part in the previous runs. That's something you have to consider too a little bit. But remember, this is a very high tire wear circuit where even about 5 laps can eat these Goodyear Eagles up quickly. That's going to be concerned long run, I think, if you go past 15-20 laps, if you're Stabnow.
Phil, to get ready to come back to the Geico restart zone. As I mentioned, the all-time starter of this series is Jeff Stabnow. He started his 300 and, of course, 17th now, 342nd career start tonight here at the Darlington Raceway. Last win for the series in the trucks at Mossport. His last Cup win was at Charlotte. That was, of course, on April 27th. 2020. He's out in front, green flag. He sets sail from Cooper, Duncan, King, Kim, and Brightsman. Top 5 off turn 2.
Big Hornet's Nest, though, is involving Tyler Kim. He bounced off the wall in turns 1 and 2. He's now under attack by Tyler King in turns 3 and 4. Up at the very front, the race lead, contact. Stabnow hit by Aaron Cooper. Cooper with the slider. Here comes Casey Duncan, side by side of the line.
A little sheet metal damage, a little cosmetic lipstick, if you will, on the left side of the driver door of the Stabnow machine. He'll not be denied, though. He'll power back up on the outside. No wavering as he battles. Cooper now fighting back on the inside. King, Duncan, new cars up at the front, but the caution comes out. They're going to score Cooper as the leader at lap number 40.
A major incident involving Tyler Kim. Absolute calamity in 2 different groupings for the race lead fight. And then the battle for what was 6th on track. Kim hit the wall again, right across the front bumper of BJ Duval. Dean Moore and several others also get collected. Biggest damage in particular going the way of Roy Grande, John Ottenbacher as well. You can also factor in Kevin Smith into a massive stack up. Here's a look at the Post Poppers instant replay. Hard into the safer barrier.
Kim Duval involved. Look who just barely got by. Wow, was that Howard in the 33? I believe it was Dean Howard. Ottenbacher just got collected again up in it. So did Dana Rogers. And they caution out for the 6th time here tonight. at Darlington Raceway. Tyler Kim, Kevin Smith, Dana Rogers, so many cars involved and some others able to roll along. Yellow flag. And Justin, I'm thinking now you got to pit. If you're Aaron Cooper, Jeff Stabnow, Duncan, you're coming up on 50 laps, closing in on 100 laps to go. Do you pit now, or is it still strategy to stay out right now?
Well, based on what we've just seen, their strategy looks like stay out for now. Maybe I think the main focus is see if they can get to halfway, because we mentioned the fuel runs around 60, 65 estimated, give or take. If they can get themselves to around 70 to go around the time of a caution, maybe it works out, or if it keeps going stop and start. But I think if they lose the lead and or lose several positions, obviously, that's when I think you really pull the trigger, so to speak, where you lose that track position. For now, though, I think they're going to at least try and hold on to it and hope that the trend continues. But at the way this is faring out with some of the drivers cutting ahead and some of the bumping and banging just happening, that may be in a couple laps. In fact, Aaron Cooper's saying on the second time around he wants to come in.
Yeah, Aaron Cooper coming into the pit lane, the 71 machine, to the attention of his crew. Got a pretty good run going for him right now. Of course, he was the runner-up in the race in the Daytona opener to Cole Raz. Controversial, possibly, that we're going to overturn the win and give it to Aaron Cooper, but then they said that they were going to hold the win for Raz. But right now, Cooper on the pit lane, but nonetheless, Duncan a pretty good spot. Stabnow will cycle back out as the leader.
At this point, if you're some of the drivers up towards the very front, have to keep yourself cool and calm and collected, and that's been a major trouble spot, I think, for some. For example, Tyler King, we mentioned, was able to stay out under one of the previous cautions after a 14-lap or so stint, give or take. He did a four-wheel drift in the backdrop before that caution flag in turn one, trying to send it to get up to the battle for the race lead. You can't really do that with this car, with these tires. You make them very angry when you do that.
You have a lot of anger. Oh, man. Jeff Stabnow, the man that's out in front. Let's give you the rundown right now as we're closing in on 40 laps completed, closing into 100 laps to go. Casey Duncan in second spot. Tyler King is third. Sean Brightsman fourth. Kenneth Garver, the top five. Dan West Jr. is sixth. Will Duvall, somehow, some way, up to seventh and eighth. Robert Gamble. Brian Reynolds, ninth. And, of course, Cole Raz, the pole car on the outside, the top 10.
11th spot right now, Ryan Bloom, then Brian Barnes, Chris White, Stephen Paulus, and Dana Rogers, the top 15. Tristan Wood after the incident earlier on 16th. Roy Grande, John Ottenbacher, Tyler Kim, Frank Harris, the top 20.
And the field has given the one to go. They'll go back to the Geico restart zone and take the green flag. We'll give you the lineup for the running order real fast with Aaron Cooper 21st, Troy Daggett 22nd, Dean Moore 23rd. A car that was on the lead lap now, or a lap down back on the lead lap in the wave around, Tavy Ritters. Kevin Smith now comes back on the lead lap, as well as Chris Cameri. Then it's going to be one lap down to Carl Burke, Matt Gilder 28th, Stephen O'Hare 29th, Scott Hutchinson 2 laps down in 30th. Other cars on the racetrack several laps down include Ron Hunter, Alex Duda, Dan Lowther, Angel Ortega. The full field rundown of the 34 drivers as we get ready to settle them back in on lap 44, working lap 45 to the Geico restart zone. 2 by 2 by 2. Stabnow powers away. What a restart over the field as we go back to green in turn one.
Great start for Jeff Stabnow. He tries to run away from the battle for second. Tyler King pinched to the apron. King loses momentum. Sean Brightsman passes on by him. By two, a couple rows deep in some cases. But Brightsman is on the case for second. Can't get the run yet.
Up to turn three. Stabnow up the hill. Duncan will follow. Here comes teammate Sean Brightsman. Duncan in the middle of an LSRTV CRN sandwich, but the caution will come out for the 7th time as that was about to ensue into turn one.
More chaos in 3 and 4 again. BJ Duvall going involved into the wall. He's also amongst those that appears looking to be stuck. Another car that also looped it around in the heart of the corner, and Brian Reynolds. So 2 different major portions of that.
Yeah,
get stacked up.
Multiple cars involved. BJ Duval, Brian Reynolds, Cole Rass, Tristan Wood, Ryan Bloom, understanding all in this pack. And look at this. Duval in the wall. Other cars, Beasley, backward, sideways. That's Brian Reynolds, actually. Hey, buddy, you're going the wrong way. He was going northbound in a southbound lane, if you will. Now gets turned back in the pack. My. Justin, is it the car, or is it just the racing being aggressive right now by the drivers? What are you thinking?
I think it's more so maybe 60-40 because it's obviously a difficult car to drive, and we've emphasized it from the get-go. But the thing is, so many drivers seem to be just absolutely pushing over-aggressive to where they're getting way too quick in the gas, it looks like, and really lighting up the back tires, shocking those tires, so to speak. You need to be patient if you're in some of these cases right now. And for a lot of the drivers, the patience just hasn't been there.
I just wanted to see if me and you were on the same page. 47, by the way, when they come to the line this time by, it will be 100 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, and I think right now, the more this more cautions that get triggered, the more this looks good for Stabnow and Duncan. You get 2 to 3 more caution flags, Wesley. I think you're in a prime spot if you're them, especially if you keep the front grouping, because by that point, probably everybody else comes on in. But if they get a long run, they're absolutely in a bad spot here. The biggest thing that I've noticed, though, Sean Brightsman, he's been able to hold on fairly steady as a result of his calls earlier on in the race. He might be a threat now for the battle for the race win, at least in the early going here, strategy-wise, because of his decision to pit in the first caution, then top off a couple cautions ago, and that puts him in a prime position to pounce here for the restart.
7 yellow flags. By the way, Team Outlaw, Will Duvall just saying I was not being aggressive at all, just snaps if you don't get it perfect. Okay. So there's one driver giving us a synopsis of the car. By the way, we're not going to see BJ Duvall for at least 5 or 6 weeks. He might be out of contention for a run for the Northwest Championship because he's committed to running on dirt. And hey, let's be honest. He's got some awesome credentials on dirt, more better than pavement. And he's going to try to Justin step back in his wheelhouse for at least 6 or 7 weeks. And in doing so, this is probably going to be his last race. And right now, not the send-off he wants at Darlington.
Yeah, he has had some good pace. It's just he has had zero luck. It seems anytime he's been in the Northwest Cup Series this campaign, or whenever he's had good track position, he gets involved in the next closest caution flag. And that's the tough thing, right? If you're battling for a championship, show nice speed. It doesn't matter if you can't finish there in the end. And that's been the main thing. Closing the races out, staying out of the trouble ahead.
Well, we know the lights are off on the pace car now, so we will settle up for the restart coming up next time by. Lap number 74 will be halfway, 73 to the finish in this 147-lap contest here tonight at Darlington. 2x2x2. Jeff Stabnow got a phenomenal jump on the field the last restart, powering up alongside Casey Duncan this time, but he got him again as they hit the Geico restart zone. He'll go and get the stealth mode as they go to turn 1 for Stabnow in the corner.
That helps Sean Brightsman try and get clear for second. Holding to the quarter panel, though, is Casey Duncan. Duncan Machine trying to keep it up high, can't do so. All of this as well as Stabnow leads by 5-6 car lengths into turn 3 this time.
And you got to remember, Stabnow has not pitted yet. He is out in front, 50 laps in. Brightsman involved in a problem earlier in the race, as you reiterated. Justin, I think it was caution flag number 2. He is now up to second spot, and they are teammates as they go to 3.
Up Through 1 and 2, in fact, as they settle things forward. Brightsman trying to get himself towards the race lead, though. 30-lap difference on their cycles. Behind them towards the inside goes Casey Duncan. Duncan able to straighten things out, though, and letting several cars go. But for Brightsman, he looks to pounce within 3 car lengths. Up to turn 4 as loose as Stab now.
Stab now stuck on the bottom of the racetrack. He now closes in. Sean Brightsman reels him up on the top side. Remember, he's our NC811 driver cam. You never know when you're going to show him, as we see him now down the back straightaway, reeling in Stab now up on the outside, down to the bottom of the racetrack. Can't get him there yet as they work off the straightaway.
Are we getting to the outside wall? In fact, they've built a 1-second buffer to the next closest pack. Brightsman waits for his march through 1 and 2. Up towards the top line they both go. Brightsman a little higher. Tries to set up the diamond. Stab now tries to take away the air off the nose. Brightsman trying to figure out a way to get there. Down the ball. Back straight away.
Passing Winston Tower up to turn 3, which used to be now turn 4, where it used to be turn 2. Working down the back straightaway. Now the front straightaway here at Darlington. It is Stab now, holding on to the lead. His teammate, 4 car lengths, 2 car lengths, trying to reel him back in. They're also opening up the interval from Tyler King to 3rd as they work off turn 2.
Down the back straightaway, they'll pass by a driver with a blown motor to the inside. That's Dana Rogers. Brightsman thinking about the set, elects to go to the bottom instead. Stab now holds it to the outside, trying to diamond it off 3 and 4. Stab no defense for now. Brightsman looking hungry.
Ready to pounce on his teammate, if you will. Closing in. We've now passed 100 laps remaining. We now have 92 to go. Brightsman there. And Jeff. Oh, we got a problem. 1 car below the bottom of the racetrack, but they've not triggered the caution yet. Battle for the lead continues as Brightsman moves to the inside. He opens the door. Stab now lets him have it off turn 4.
Wouldn't say just let him have it. He nearly lost the car trying to get it through the gears and through that throttle. Stab now drops to 2nd. Sean Brightsman now with the race lead as the caution is out down the back straightaway. It's O'Hare from 28th, the wrong way around down the middle of the straightaway.
And I don't think that was the car a lap ago that was down below the bottom of the apron.
Nope.
That was another car. We got to find out what this happens here. Caution triggered. What is this, the 8th time, Justin? Wow.
8th or 9th time. Both poppers instant replay. O'Hare looked pretty solid on the exit. He had been struggling after some of the problems, but just to snap it loose, trying to power it off the corner. Hits the wall down the middle of the straightaway. Looks okay, but then you have cars pass by around here. That's enough to trigger the caution flag. In turn, brings us back under yellow at a very intriguing time of the race.
Well, it's like we told you. And by the way, there's the car that was stalled a moment ago, Dean Moore. And here's a look at why we did not throw the caution, but this is Dean Moore in 33. A lap ago, when they were battling Brightsman and Stab now for the lead, we saw that glimpse of that car stalled below the bottom of the racetrack on the inside down the back straightaway, and that was Dean Moore. And here's a look at why, as he slams the inside safer wall barrier, goes into a tailspin at least 1.5, and then he comes to a stop along there with the issues for Stephen O'Hare. Justin, you got to pit now, I'm thinking, if you're in the front. 60 laps coming up on a set of tires. Remember, you got 4 sets plus the set you were given. Take advantage of them, you think?
I mean, I would as well, but it looks like at the moment, Stab now just continuing to play the track position game more so. Casey Duncan the same, unless they elect to come down this upcoming time by with them now grouped together. And again, that's been the trend. It's a hard track to pass at for a reason. The place they call Too Tough to Tame, it's very tough to set up a move. And we've seen even with the move for Brightsman, even with it being set up to give him space to pass by off of turn 4, that still took a few laps to set up the proper run to get that done cleanly. So it takes at least 5-10 laps per car to make a pass at a track that is about 1.5 lanes, 2 lanes wide when you consider things to try and make some of these moves.
And now Brightsman, the leader, Stab now right behind him. Tyler King, who was losing ground on the leaders, fell back to third. He still's in the third position. Casey Garber, Cole Ras, Paul Carr, along with Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith all the way in the back of the pack, and Raz up in the top 5. Duncan, good run for him in 6th. Dan West Jr., Robert Gamble, Brian Barnes, and Ryan Bloom. Quietly having a good night. He sits in the 10th position as we work our 8th caution flag of the race. We're probably about 15 laps away from halfway, and then we'll settle up for the second half. But again, it's been a great battle up in the front. There's been some other racing along the way, but that battle for that top spot, hot and heavy, and still anybody's chance to win this race now, Justin, and we don't know which way this race will turn on its head.
Now, this has been the type of race where things have been on a swivel, because at the start of the race, in the first 20-plus laps, my thought was Kevin Smith's type of night with the pace he was showing. Then he made his mistake. Then the thoughts then turned towards the next car in line, Cole Raz. He's in 5th position, yes, but he's also had to back out of the gas and let several cars go a couple times after some of these restarts. Now it's to where I think as long as you are towards that mark where you might be able to get towards the very edge on fuel, split it down the middle, I think that's more so the favorite at this point, because even with the tire differences, there hasn't been enough laps yet, I think, to be fully able to attack yet with some of them.
Well, one thing for certain, you got to take into account, Justin, teammates. That's there's a little give and take here because there's teammates. Obviously, Stab now, Brightsman race each other a little differently than what you would race somebody that is a foe.
Absolutely. That's, I think, going to be helpful a little bit in terms of timing things up to give themselves space. But keep in mind, if Tyler King times it up and guesses right on if there's any synchronization here, that may force Stabno out of the gas possibly into turn 1 and sacrifice second here and open the door for the 21.
And just like that, the field will make their way back to the Geico restart zone here at Darlington Raceway. Back to speed. Brightsman, Stab now, King, Garber, Raz, top 5. Here comes Tyler King. He's ready to make a move on the man in second. Stab now, but then he loses ground. They go to the top side out of turn 2.
Had to really lift it to be able to get the grip down for turns 1 and 2. They separate out by about 5 car lengths between second and third. Behind them, the battles are starting to form up once more. To the inside, Ryan Bloom, the send. Robert Gamble just avoids the wall. Ryan Bloom parks the bus off forward.
Cut the boss off, indeed, if you will, as that went on. And what a save as they hold on to that spot. One car down below the bottom of the apron. Race rolls on. Here we go. Stab now. Trying to close back in on Brightsman. Brightsman, half a car length. He pulls away into turn 3.
Heading into the corner, single file amongst the top 5 grouping for now. Brightsman trying to try a different line around the middle to top compared to Stab now trying top then middle. Them with the Contras trying to set themselves together. Lap cars ahead, keep in mind, including Dana Rogers to deal with.
Top side of the racetrack, Brightsman works their way past the Winston stripes on the safer wall barrier, down the mowing back straightaway. Hard, darts out of line on the back straightaway. We'll watch that as that goes on. King battles. Here comes now Dan West Jr. up on the outside lane. Raz back up there as they work out of 4.
Tyler King having to let several cars go as a result of the mistake last set of corners. King drops all the way back to 7th. Flips the apron but holds onto the grip for the time being. A bit of mistake, but that opens a major buffer between second and third, nearly a full second. Stabnow and Garber, they settle it down. One more car down the middle of the back straightaway into the wall, as well as another and Jeff Stabnow. Everybody else, they clean though.
Holds it together, no harm, no foul. Race rolls on as there's that gaggle of traffic there behind King.
Work their way through 1 and 2 once again. King trying to recover some of the positions back. It's still a plus 20 for the 21 machine, though. Not recorded time in practice or qualifying, keep in mind. Down the back straightaway. Get the draft lined up. Let's stop the gas to let it roll to 143. After 3 and 4, can't close it up.
Can't close it up again as they work their way again on the top side of the racetrack. Nobody breaking out of line yet. They're all single file as they come back off into the corner. Down into turn number 2. It's Brightsman, Stabnow, Garber, Raz, West, top 5 as that rolls on to the back straightaway.
Trouble down the back straightaway. Robert Gamble scraped the wall now in the battle for 10th. White trying to dive underneath and does. The edge of the apron settles the car down for the move. Keep the power down as Gamble forced to lift off of turn 4.
Back across the start-finish line now as the laps continue to tick away here. We're closing in on halfway. Coming up, Justin and I will give our assessment and analysis on what is the LSRTV mid-race report update as Sean Brightsman, Jeff Stabnow continue to be 1 and 2. Look at now the 54 car. Robert Gamble closing in on the machine of Chris White, the defending series champion. This is for 10th. Then Kevin Smith, pole car, right back in that battle. That's the best battle on the racetrack back in turn 1.
And when you try and get themselves to the paces, is a little bit of rubbing and baiting. Or the outside wall Gamble, that costs him a little bit more time. That sets up Kevin Smith now for a chance for the run. Not able to close fully up quite yet as a result either way. 3 and 4, Smith tries bottom, sends it hard to the top. Loses ground though with Gamble keeping it steady.
Keeps it steady as they work their way back across start-finish line. Another lap on the board. Brightsman and Stabnow holding on to their spot. No one jumping out of line. There's Mr. Consistency Barnes that we mentioned for a lot of weeks. Doing what he needs to do into the top 5 of the points for a championship. And still the early going as well. Only in week 7. West, truck champion, 2-time champion. Right there behind him. Top 5, they work off turn 4. It's getting sideways as White off the corner.
Able to save it though across the start and finish line. Get himself back into the grouping as well. Along the top grouping, everybody else continues to rumble. 77 to go this time by, quickly approaching the halfway point. Looking at Dan West Jr. The LSRTV feeds as he looks inside the top 5 once again. Tries to eat the gap up from Cole Raz. He closes up half a car length, another quarter of the car length off the exit.
Another lap off the corner, another lap on the exit as you mentioned, and all that while that goes on for these positions, closing in on halfway in just a few more circuits. Brightsman holding on to the lead. Look at Dan West Jr. That's one of his teammates. That's for top 5. Duncan now in the clutches of that battle along with Tyler King. They work their way off the Boeing backstretch to turn 3.
Doubling through turns 3 and 4. Stabnow has hit the wall yet again. That checks up second on back. Else looking to regather themselves down the front straightaway. KC Garber first up to try and make a move. Coming up towards 75 to go this time. Stabnow really starting to fade. Coming off turn 2.
Field works their way with Stabnow. He's got some company. Garber smacks himself off the wall. He'll now get some company from Raz again. West is right there with them. That battle heats up as they work their way off of turn number 4. Stabnow under attack with a hornet's nest behind him as they work down the start-finish line.
No one able to get a full run quite yet to take a pounce yet. Stabnow still trying to maintain a 1-car length buffer or so. Garber tries to avoid the wall this time. Stabnow major check on the corner apex. To the exit, Garber can't close up yet.
Brightsman pulling away 4.5 seconds, maybe more. And there's Stabnow. He'll slip up on the outside, bounces off the wall. Kenneth Garber says, excuse me, coming through, step right up and bring in more of my friends. Here comes Raz to the inside. West will now come after him. West, his teammate to Stabnow, tries to give him some relief as right now Garber goes to second off turn 2.
Stabnow all the way back to 5th already. Now being passed for that spot. Stabnow up for grabs for 6th position. Garber runs away from the grouping by 8/10. Stabnow tries to wheel it on the high side. Against the wall, Stabnow loses 4 spots in the span of 2 sets of corners.
Kristen Wood, Dana Rogers, John Audenbacher, and Tyler Kim, all cars that have just recently entered the pit lane as we are in the second half of this race. Just after halfway, it's still Sean Brightsman the leader. Garber, Raz, West, and Duncan top 5. No change in those positions except Stab now losing ground to 6 as they work to 3.
Through 3 and 4 again. Stab now really showing the signs of that tire wear. He is also going to be very tight on the fuel window as his call has put him into the spot where he needs to get around 65 to go. Can he get to that mark is a huge question. Everybody else trying to still line up through 1 and 2 to find a way to diamond it off the corner to make a move again.
Brightsman, Garber, Raz, West, Duncan, right now your top 5. That's as it stands right now. And while we've got a nice lengthy green flag run, unless, oh my goodness, Tyler King hits the wall. White was around him. They save it, no harm, no foul, but that could have been scary as they work their way back off turn 4.
Dan West Jr. also takes a little bit of a joker course down the front straightaway along the edge of the logos. He avoids the wall in 4th position. Everybody getting really squiggly here and looking to get really aggressive for the Sens.
Had a feeling that a storm was brewing, but now we'll bring you back inside the broadcast position. And we welcome you for the mid-race report. I am Wesley Outland, Justin Pritz down below. Justin, some crazy racing so far at Darlington. Numerous cautions. This race has not disappointed. Your take of the first 78 laps.
It's been a very busy night, to say the very least. A lot of loose moments for many of these competitors, a lot of squiggly moments for these competitors. It's been the type of race where attrition has been a big part of things. It's also been where, especially with moments like we just seen on screen, you need to be able to maintain control of the car. It's a car that is very difficult to handle in terms of corner exits. That's been the major challenge for the pack tonight.
And we've heard Will Duvall talk about this. We heard Jeff Stabnow say something about this on his hunt to get back in Northwest Victory Lane as well. Sean Brightsman had problems earlier. He's now back in the hunt. He's sliding away from everybody trying to run him down. So many contenders. There's really still so many obstacles left to determine who's going to be the winner here today at Darlington.
Welcome to the Northwest Racing Series. I think at this point, though, with so many different calls in some cases, it's going to come down to who has the right strategy and who has the amount of time to reel in drivers on older tires with some fresher rubber. I think that's the major point. And that's going to be a major thought for some is, when do I come in? Some of the windows going to be a bit wider, to say the very least. For those who have pit under some of the cautions, not so much if you're, say, Stabnow or Casey Duncan, who are going to essentially have to come in on an undercut pretty soon. They've been able to stretch it to 80 laps now.
Justin, do you think that the strategy we're seeing, the race that we are watching right now, this is the outcome of what this car is? And are you expecting nothing less of what we're seeing and for the second half to come to the finish?
I think more so, yes, because this is the type of car where once you're able to settle things down, you get this type of racing. It's been seen in particular when it comes to open setup series, for reference sake, where you can't get these big groupings break up into small packs of 2, 3, or 4. And it's kind of trended that way, where track position is important. And the thing is to remember, too, even though this Cup Series is the fixed side of the card when it comes to Northwest Racing Series competition, it's still a car where, as we've seen, you can defend for a fair bit despite some of the tire differences. But it's not a finite, absolute, bona fide definition of being able to defend, because eventually those tires will give.
Final question, and we'll wrap up our LSRTV mid-race report. They always say who's the one to watch in the Cup Series on Sunday. Who's the one to watch in the Northwest tonight for Cup at Darlington, Justin?
Well, I'm going to avoid the obvious pick. That's up at the front by about 6 seconds. But I think the one to watch at this point, Dan West Jr., because he's had a pretty quiet night. Yes, he nearly spun himself to the inside about 5-10 laps ago, but he's one of the drivers who seems to be hitting his marks consistently. He's one of the quicker cars on the racetrack. He stayed in the ballpark of consistency in terms of that, about 1.2 seconds of fall off, or up to a second and a half of fall off. I think Dan West Jr., if he can pick the strategies right, might be someone in the mix towards the end.
And my pick right now, sitting in the number 2 position, but he's had some problems and adversity throughout the race so far in the first half. Cole Raz, he sweeps the weekend. He won last Thursday in the trucks at Darlington. I believe tonight he will pull out the broomstick and sweep Cup here today at Darlington as well. And with that, Justin and I bring you back to on-track activity. And that has been your LSRTV mid-race report. 85 of 147 laps, the distance, which means 62 laps to go. As right now, Sean Brightsman, Justin, a 5, now make it close to 6-second lead over Cole Raz and Mr. Dan West Jr. Chris White, Kenneth Garber, your top 5.
Impressive run, to say the least, when it comes to the 6 after some of his bad luck the past few races he started on the campaign. C. Duncan 6 right now, Ryan Bloom 7. Brian Barnes, after his spins earlier on, Popsicle Machine, get himself a nice sweet top 10 in the top 8. Ryan Reynolds, after his spin earlier, 9th. Tyler King currently top 10. Keep in mind, the car right behind him on the pylon, Jeff Stabnell, is dropping in fast again. He's letting more cars go.
Garber right there in that black 94 trying to reel in White. There you see now the tide ride of Brian Reynolds. Shades of not only the DW Tide colors, but more or so the Tide colors of Ricky Craven. If you remember Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch in that crazy finish at Darlington. One of the closest finishers for a long time in NASCAR history. And the Tide Downey ride. Working now behind the 4, Brian Barnes, Popsicle Toyota. And Justin, right now, speaking of Barnes, man, ain't he just doing what he needs to do just to be consistent? And that's honestly, while we close in on the final 60 laps of this race, he is currently in the top 5 in the point standings for a championship.
Yeah, that's the major thing for some of the drivers. Lots of consistency being shown, in particular Brian Barnes. He's been able to do so with the 4 top 10s in his 6 starts of the campaign, as well as that pole award that he picked up a few weeks back, all the way back at Daytona in particular. And that just seems to be some of the patterns when it comes to Barnes, is he won't exactly excite you in terms of runaway pace at times, no offense to him, but he's someone that if you are able to put him in the right car and track combination, play stable setup, and keep him out of the trouble, he can drive the car nice and clean to the checker flag.
I'm looking at the track map thanks to our live timing by Live Sim Racing SDK, and you can see a complete plethora of cars all around the egg-shaped Darlington Raceway right now. There is no room for error. There is no open gaps, if you will, Justin. There is literally every inch of this racetrack being consumed by one of the 34 starters, except the cars that are out of the race right now as we approach a century grind around Darlington.
One of the longest runs, in fact, the longest run at 60 laps for many of these drivers, and I'm really impressed by some of the drivers who have been able to stretch it forward. It is worth noting, the drivers who had to come and stretch it forward in some cases, or Jeff Stabnell, have completed their pit stops the last time by, when it was open for those who stayed out. Past few cautions, Casey Duncan is the other driver in that range in 6th position.
And still continuing to keep up with that driver of the number 4, Brian Barnes. You see him start to close in on some more cars. Obviously, Rod Hunter had some problems earlier in the race. He's now trying to move around more cars. Also closing in on Brian Reynolds. This all going on inside the top 10. As they work their way back around, closing in on lap 100.
About to say, Casey Duncan just came on in, so now the drivers who have attempted to stay out for the track position having to come in on fuel, but everybody else are in that spot where in some cases, go about maybe, based on some of these numbers we're seeing now, maybe 5 up towards the 10 laps on the gas. Some maybe it'll stretch it like 15, depending on how things could fare out with this tempo. That's going to be the big thing, and here's the other big thing. Notice on the left side of the LSRTV screens where Brightsman's gap is shrinking. If that continues that trend of a few seconds trimmed away here and there, Cole Raz, Dan West Jr. and company might be right there within about 20, maybe 10 to go.
You know, we mentioned that this race was going to be 147 laps plus 2 attempts of the green-white checker if need be, but also, Justin, it's got a 2-hour window. So here's the deal. As the laps tick away with 53 laps remaining now, when they work their way off turn number 4 for Sean Brightsman and the rest of the leaders, there is also exactly 50 minutes left to go on the time clock. If the time clock expires, Justin, what does that entail if people do not know watching iRacing tonight?
Well, that can lead to plenty of different opportunities and plenty of different equations. If you're, say, having a precaution type of situation, it might signify that the race would have to essentially end early on terms of the lap count. If it's under caution we reach that point, it might end up being a couple lap shootout, maybe a 1-lap shootout to decide it towards the end of the race. It really depends on the scenario and the exact timing of when that clock reaches 0. Right now, I think if things stay green, we're not at major risk to be able to reach it. But if we get, say, 5 cautions back to back, I think that's where you start panicking as drivers, because then it gets really tight on the clock.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. As we work their way back across the start-finish line now, Brightsman is the leader. 4.5 seconds over Cole Raz right there, the man in second. West now getting some company from Chris White, couple of former champions of last year, 2-time truck champion, defending it in the 55. Dan West Jr. from Shelton, Washington, battling the native of the number 6. He was in the 83 when he won it last year, Chris White. And that number 6 machine throwing the block on West Jr. as we approach lap 100.
And he's trying to figure out a way to continue to close up to Cole Raz now. Chris White once again finding a little bit more pace after having to get some of the damage repair done earlier. The shooter electing to maintain in the line, see how things fare out here, especially with Scott Hutchinson just up the road traffic-wise.
Justin, here's something to think about. The last time, my friend, that the caution flag fell, it was on lap number 50. Lap 50. This is now close to a 50-lap green flag run, and we're approaching lap 100, and there's about less than 50 laps to go to the finish. Remember what Jeff Stabnow was saying. Oh, yeah, look at this. First time tonight, 3 cameras at one time in our coverage. Just some of the new enhanced broadcasts at our 4K Ultra HD coverage of iRacing on LSRTV. For those that are listening on the Community Radio Network, we'll paint a picture. There's a big screen with the big broadcast. Then there's the overall monitor on the bottom left, or on the top right. There's a box and another box on the lower right, and they're keeping up with Chris White, the driver of the number 6 car, from different angles. But Justin, back to what I was saying that Stabnow was talking about. We're closing in on close to a 50-plus lap green flag run, and he said, I think this car will be damn fun if we can get ourselves a green flag run. And finally, we are seeing that as we pass 100 laps.
And for some of these drivers, those calls going to be coming pretty soon, you have to think. And remember, when it comes to this pit entry around this racetrack, it's one of the more treacherous ones. Chris White into the wall. Dan West Jr. gets hit from behind by KC Garber. Everyone able to hold on to it, though. We stay green.
No harm, no foul. That could have been bad. What a save, Justin, as they go back into turn number 3.
2 or 3 different cars having to save it indeed. And for those drivers, a lot of damage picked up, in particular, I think, for Dan West Jr. the front nose. Signals having to come in pretty soon for these pit calls. Chris White signifying how difficult this entry will be. A hard turn to make it inside the yellow line and inside the commitment cone, that orange cone in particular. He barely makes it in. He barely makes it into the barriers.
And all of that work now for naught as Chris White has a problem. The number 6 car. No caution. We still stay green as Chris White's on the pit lane.
The window is open for a majority of the drivers now. Who else will follow them in pretty soon? See amongst the drivers settling on in. Ryan Bloom also showed good speed here in the ARCA series years ago. He tries to hold on in pack 2 currently. Reynolds and Barnes right on behind through 3 and 4. And a checkup holding up Barnes in company with the lap car in between.
Lap 104 to 147 right now. And it is pucker time. As they say, 45 laps to go now, make it 43 remaining. Green flag pit stops also going on. First time we've seen that going in tonight's race. Briar Reynolds now holding off the likes as Ryan Bloom drops out of the lane. Here comes the modified looking 22 of Ron Hunter. Now trying to close in on the Tide Downey ride of Reynolds. Ryan Barnes also the 4-car.
Caution.
And caution is out. Yellow waves. Problems on the racetrack during green flag pit stops, Justin.
It's Matt Gelder from 22nd position. He ends up hitting the wall hard in turns 1 and 2. An overcorrection into the wall after snapping loose on the entry. And now things have changed. Raz Garber and company had entered the pit lane as the caution came out. How will this fare out scoring?
They were all in the cycle of green flag pit stops. Some cars had already elected to come to the pit lane. Some were debating when to come. And now, work being done with the caution out for the 9th time on lap number 106. Back to Justin for what happened.
Once again, the issue came in turns 1 and 2. It's the 0-2 machine, Matt Gelder, who gets loose. Already having some struggles, especially after hitting the wall the previous time around. Here's a look on board, and as we've discussed, this is a car that's been right on the very edge of the limit, especially when it comes to the bigger trends, when it comes to the next-gen machine. He already got nearly loose off turn 4, but in turn 1, that's where the grip says bye-bye. Right about here, on for the ride.
Gelder's car into the spin several times. Oh my goodness, Justin, was that Sean Breitzman and Cole Raz that just missed him?
It was close, I believe, with whoever was close on by.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it is. There's Dan West Jr. I wonder if we can see it from another angle, possibly, because that looked like that was the leader. So I wonder if we could go on board with Sean Breitzman. Remember, he's our NC 811 call before you dig driver. Okay, and I'm understanding that he has disconnected his feed. He's focused on trying to win this race, but that honestly, Justin, looked like the leaders. That looked like the leaders that were just missing that incident there for Matt Gelder.
It was a very close call indeed, and because of this time of the caution flag, the entire field has been flipped upside down in regards to the running order, to say the very least. But in regards to your respective question, can confirm Breitzman was the next closest car behind Gelder with the spin. Dan West Jr. and company able to pass on by as things were straightened out. But Dan West Jr. with the caution is the leader. Reynolds, Barnes, Breitzman, Burke, I believe the top 5. Cooper currently showing about 65 laps, expecting him to come in.
To wrap up our 9th caution flag, field is coming back to the pit lane. Sean Breitzman back on pit road again, along with Aaron Cooper. You got an update before we go to break, Justin.
And here's the thing when it comes to the top of the caution flag. How has this fared out in terms of the pack? Cole Raz, John Ottenbacher, KC Duncan, Chris White, Jeff Stabnow, Tyler Kane, Robert Gamble, Ryan Bloom will all have to take wave around.
Wow.
And here's the problem for some of them. Stabnow would be about 20 laps into his run when the green flag flies. Ottenbacher 40. Some of the drivers need a caution.
And the hope is, cross your fingers, cautions breed cautions, and they'll get yellow flag number 10 immediately after caution number 9. We're coming up on the top of the hour. We'll pause for 10 seconds of network identification. This is iRacing on the Community Radio Network and iRacing on LSRTV. We'll step away and take you to the checker flag next from Darlington.
You're listening to the Community Radio Network. Follow us via social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CRN Sports. Plus, listen to the games at 87.5 FM or join us anywhere worldwide at wearecrn.com. We are CRN.
Hey, it's broadcast. broadcast personality Wesley Outland up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week. Under 40 laps to go. Welcome back to Darlington Raceway. Justin Prince, Wesley Outland. Birthday boy, Justin, can you say happy birthday to Charles? He's got about 3 minutes left and officially his birthday's over.
Happy birthday.
That just did not work. You're supposed to be exciting. You're supposed to, happy birthday to you.
Oh my goodness, your singing voice is really good.
Thank you, sir. We're back to green with under 40 laps to go at Darlington. I know you're lying. 37 to go. And West is gone.
A nice sing through the gas for Dan West Jr. Reynolds holding on grip very well off the launch. Single file from amongst the top 6 grouping. Keep in mind, trouble behind him. One car gets loose. Towards the bottom of the racetrack, we stay green. Now it's up to the wall. It's Ron Hunter. Ron Hunter in front of the pack is slowing down. No caution still as they fight through 3 and 4.
For many drivers, Justin, we were mentioning they wanted the caution flag. Will they get it? It's getting a little intense as well as we work down to the final 35 laps of this race. It's West, Reynolds, Burke, Barnes, Breitzman, new drivers in the top 5. There's the battle for 5th with Barnes going after Burke and the machine of Barnes in turn 3. Breitzman can't clear him as they work off the corner.
Barnes gets sliced and diced underneath now by Sean Breitzman. Breitzman gets loose. Breitzman nearly to the door, keeps it off them. Burke with the power. Burke holds on to 4th position. Troy Daggett tries to close back in without a hood.
Back up on the top shelf now. They work up the safer wall barrier out of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway. Breitzman sideways. Car smacks the wall. Breitzman loses ground. Reynolds Hall. Briar Reynolds in trouble. That will not trigger a caution. We will still stay green. Breitzman with a save. Briar Reynolds is off the pace as they go to turn 3, but still the green light's on.
Massive hits as Briar Reynolds' meatball flag will take him out of contention the rest of the way under green. Dan West Jr., he'll have to hold on to some of the fights with Brian Barnes. You compare that to Jeff Stabnell. He's coming through the field and fast. Despite the much older tires, he moves up a slice in a loose moment for Tyler King. Stabnell looks to dice past him.
Breitzman so many times. Oh, bottom racetrack. Tyler King spins in the 2nd groove, the 3rd groove. No harm, no foul. He just goes to the back of the line. Green flag still stays out. And now he tries to intentionally spin out on the racetrack.
That's not going to work in the middle of the groove. And he got to get himself back going too. The problem is the next group is the race leaders. Still staying green. Dan West Jr. and Brian Barnes looking to settle down. Everything else picking up in the heart of the pack through 3 and 4. Breitzman looking to recover. Carl Burke holding on to the 1st grouping and 3rd on back.
I want to retract my previous statement. It might have been that maybe Tyler King was not trying to intentionally bring out the caution flag, but maybe he was trying to get the car out of gear or trying to spin the tires, check and see if he can get back moving again. That might have been what was going on. Lap 115 of 147. We don't want to make an assumption on something unless we fully know. 32 laps to go now. It's Dan West Jr. out in front, the native out of Shelton, Washington, working his way off of turn number 4. There's Burke for 3rd. Daggett, Breitzman now trying to dust himself off from his little slip up, almost into the inside pit wall barrier. He's now back to 4th and 2.
No leg given from Troy Daggett without that front hood, but all that slipping and sliding has allowed the top 2 to pull away by about 3 seconds. Been looking to focus his way back around Carl Burke again, though, after some of the close calls. Burke runs top line. Breitzman trying to get some cleaner towards parts of the nose through the heart of the corner. Gets the better exit off 4.
Better exit off the corner. They work their way back across the start-finish line. Coming up, it'll be 30 laps to go. Field is ready to send it. But right now, Brightsman coming after Burke. This is going on for third spot. Justin Prince, what a job for the legend Carl Burke. The Silver Fox of 53 Northwest iRacing now settles in for a top 5 finish. The J&M Racing Motors machine, though, will get passed by 2020 Cup Series champion Brightsman as they go back to turn 1.
Burke, I think right now, neat looking big picture here. He's got positioning. He's got damage, though, at the same time. The next car behind has significant damage. Then Cole Raz is coming up quick. Keep in mind, the fastest car to the track, West Jr. and Raz. Raz in the 30 flats, looking to reel in the rest of the pack. He's to the back bumper nearly of Troy Daggett.
I think of another driver with problems earlier, Troy Daggett, like you mentioned, Justin. Man, that guy's right back in the catbird seat again. He sits in the top 5, but not for long. Jinxed him. Here comes Cole Raz, truck winner on Thursday night here at Darlington. Flashing by the start finish line this time by. It will score him to the number 5 position as they come off the Boeing backstretch. There's Brightsman. There's Burke. This is third and fourth. Raz, that was the battle going on behind them. And all the while, it's almost 2 seconds, the gap for West to Barnes, the man in second in the popsicle number 4 as we close in on 27 remaining.
West Jr. has the race in his hands with the way things are faring out. Sean Brightsman looking to settle things out. Here's a look at the race leader. Despite the heavy front nose damage from that contact and the stack up should say in several cases, West Jr. continues his momentum forward, looks to try and continue to pull away with the clean air.
Pull away with clean air indeed as right now Dan West Jr. keeping that top spot. Holding on, Brian Barnes in the second position. Sean Brightsman third, Cole Raz, Carl Burke, no change in top 5 as they work their way to the Winston Tower off the Boeing backstretch to 3.
Off to the corner as we take a look at the heart of the pack, Robert Gambill amongst those, looking to settle things for 10th. Big checkup through the heart of 1 and 2 with Ryan Bloom in front. Also trying to find a way around the lap car, Chris Camary. Camary gets loose. Let by the lead cars in turn with Camary going inside. Not so much, though, as Gamble now gets held up trying the high side nearly to the wall.
Gamble all the way up to the wall. Shades of trying to pass the Michael Waltrip colors of the Napa number 15 machine from back in the day when he won the 2001 Daytona 500. Also of Chris Camary. They work their way to the top side of the racetrack. Ryan Bloom, the ARCA champion of last year, Justin, of Northwest, having a quiet night right now. He now wrestles his way into the top 10 with Gamble behind him as they work their way back into turn number 2.
Back through 4, in fact, at the moment is off the corner.
Turn
Bloom
4.
gets himself to good power indeed with the lap car. The Zimmo's a pick to be able to continue his buffer point. Now 2 lap cars separate him in the next position with Gamble on behind. That may be helpful for the long run the rest of the way. Bloom looks to set sail as there goes Camary to the inside loose.
Camary dropping to the bottom and he smacks the inside guardrail. Everyone else bypasses him. The Toyota Camry now beaten and battered, drops down to the bottom of the apron. He's now coming coasting to pit road. 24 to go. Still no caution in it. Dan West Jr. still the leader.
Gap staying stagnant for the time being, but still you have to consider the number 10 car who is still in the 4th spot and is trying to find a way to get up to Sean Brightsman. The separation about 1 second. Raz is the quickest car in clean space. The traffic has been the big factor, whether it's in the battle with Gamble and company or whether it's in the rest of the pack. That likely will be a major concern with 22 to go this time.
22 to go this time by. Look at now. Gamble clearing past these other cars, put him back into the top 10. Yes, the Bengals, the NFC or the AFC champions of NFL back in January, now settles in with that car. At one time, he drove an Atlanta Braves car. Remember, they were the World Series champions of baseball last year. And all the while, we watch him work. Audenbacher, somehow, some way, from a wreck earlier tonight, Justin, he's now getting lapped down, but that car doesn't look like it's really phased a bit. And with 22 laps to go, he sits 2 laps down in 15th. Still a solid run as Gamble slams the wall in front of Audenbacher. Drops down below the apron. He loses ground. All that ground he had is gone as they bypass him. And now Duncan goes to 10th.
Big checkup as well for Gelder down the back. Keep in mind, the reason Ottenbacher is in that grouping now, he pit a couple laps ago and was fresh off the pit lane. That led to some of the contact with the outside wall scene with Robert Gambo in turn 3, trying around the outside. Coming around 20 to go this time for the race leaders. The gap is shrinking in fast, though, for West Jr. Barnes last time by closed up the gap to around 1.2 seconds. Across the stripe this time, the difference 31.1 for West Jr., 30.6 for Barnes.
31.1, 31.6. The interval is closing. Believe it or not, Brian Barnes is licking his popsicle sticks. He's trying to melt that gap between Barnes to West and that Toyota Camry, trying to reel in Dan West Jr. Can he get there, Justin? 20 laps to go as he works off turn number 4.
Still settling things about, and he's burning Brightsman with them too, keep in mind. And Colraz. Will they have enough speed to get to West Jr.? It is shrinking every turn 1 and 2 currently. West Jr. starting to really struggle on exit. Having to lift it hard to avoid the wall. Barnes able to power it off. Gains another 1/10 of a second.
Another thing to think about, Justin, in sim time, it is close to nightfall. It is sunset here at Darlington. This race will still finish in daylight, but with not much light remaining as you're starting to see the sunset here at Darlington. Maybe the lights might virtually illuminate. We're not sure. All the while, Brightsman trying to run down Barnes. Barnes trying to close that gap on West. And that's all going on with 18 to go. Back down the front straight, backstretch off the Boeing straightaway to turn 3.
Within the draft, though, of the leader of West Jr. West Jr. nearly to the wall again. Second and third. Trying to nail through 3 and 4. Good exit for the 4 and the 46. They still lose time of the stopwatch, though. 17 to go this time. They look to try and nail 1 and 2 again.
17 laps to go in the race. 29 minutes under remaining in sim time. If they have to race to the 2-hour time limit. Right now, it's the latter. 17 to go. It's West. It's Barnes and Brightsman for P2. That's going on. Guess what? The interval also to a second for the leader West off turn number 4.
Still not able to fully close up the interval. Lap traffic ahead of them. Camry moves out of the way of Dan West Jr. This may become a bit of a factor off turn 2 for Barnes if they time it up wrong. Still keeping themselves together. A big check for second and third with the traffic. Not a good exit for either of them. In fact, Barnes lets Brightsman go.
So you just saw a little glimpse of the 55 car. The driver out of Shelton, Washington, right there on the upper left. He is moving by lap traffic. That's Chris Camry, who about spun and slapped the wall a moment ago and lost ground in his Toyota. And all the while, here comes now the Brights Boutique entry, the 2020 Northwest Cup Series champion of the iRacing Series. Originally from Puyallup, Washington, now the native resides out of Tucson, Arizona, and he begins his ascent to run down his team LSRTV CRN compadre and friend, Shelton, Washington's Dan West Jr. 15 to go. Now 14 to go. As they flash into the flag stand, there's also lap traffic in their midst on the outside lane in turn 2.
Working along the edge of the top of the racetrack. Barnes trying to continue to help with Brightsman in the draft. He's been trying to push him down the straights. West Jr. tries to get more around lap traffic. That's Gelder. Brightsman nails it through the entry. Within about a second again. West Jr. again nearly to the wall. West Jr. has been good on exit turn 4, though, compared to second and third. Not as much this time.
Gelder stays to the bottom of the racetrack. We're going 3 screens with you. There is the man right there with Sean Brightsman. All the while, also the leader to the bottom 2 of the right of the broadcast monitor of Mr. Dan West Jr. And there is the interval closing in. Is he there? Is he there? He's got to save. West has to save. And Justin, they can't slip or make a mistake as West and Brightsman. Remember for the championship last year and at the race they were battling. They made contact. They took each other out in the infield grass in Texas. And as you see, West hit the wall. That's what let Chris White win the championship, where those drivers were battling. And now it's mano a mano. Now Barnes losing ground. West Brightsman. 11 to go this time by into turn 4.
Brightsman still having a great chance to pounce around. Works his way around the top line. Traffic gets thick in front of them. Taking 11 to go. West Jr. tries to hold it up. Better run for Brightsman into 1. Brightsman tries to nail for the exit of turn 2. Tries to use the higher line. Dimes it off turn 2. Gets the power down. Here he goes down the back.
He made a move on the inside. Lap car, though, in the way. He clears the lap car. He gets to the left rear of West. He lost ground. He's got to back her down, and then he's got to try to reset again. He lost momentum. Open to about a quarter of a second, if you will. The interval now between Brightsman and West. He's got to try to throw it in there one more time. 10 to go at Darlington. It's a great battle off turn number 2.
Brightsman again trying the diamond. West Jr. with the wall.
He's in the wall.
Here comes Brightsman. Brightsman passes on the high side. Sean Brightsman to the race lead. Barnes falls through. Dan West Jr. gets shuffled back to 3rd. After a major mistake on turn 2, it's Brightsman leading.
Dan West Jr. gets to the left rear with 11 to go and lost ground by a quarter of a second. He dusted himself off. He started to reel back in like a man of Dan West Jr., like a pulse popper fishing lure. He smacks the outside safer wall barrier off turn 2, and just like that, Sean Brightsman comes out spinning and grinning, but not for long, because Brian Barnes, Mr. Consistency, is ready to reel in Brightsman. How sweet it is. Here comes the popsicle number 4. The battle of Toyotas with now 8 to go at Darlington. They're in turn 1.
Barnes last time around a little bit quicker as a result of avoiding the wall. Remember, Barnes had let Brightsman go to help try and close up to West Jr. Will he try and get the pounce ahead? Tries to back it off for the exit. Down the Boeing backstretch. Can't get to the inside yet. He lines it up high side through turn 3.
Nightfall sets in at Darlington. Barnes up the hill. Here comes now Brightsman up the hill. Sunset upon us. 8. Now make it 7 laps to go. Lap cars to the bottom. That's Stephen Paulison. He says, have at it, boys. The leader's going at it with 7 to go. Back to turn 1.
Barnes still working his way along the edge of the wall. Brightsman a little tight. Barnes getting tight. Both of them getting tight. Brightsman avoids grazing the wall. Barnes had to lift hard off the gas. Brightsman builds up a bigger buffer. Just 2 more lap cars ahead and clean space from here. Coming at 6 to go through 3 and 4.
They work their way off of turn number 4. There is more lap cars ahead. They all stay single file, rim riding the outside retaining wall. Nobody jumps out of line. Remember, Sean Brightsman also, Justin, quick fact, not able to make the truck race here on Thursday. What a way to redeem himself and push himself to the playoffs as he puts a lap down on Toby Ritters. That truck had a solid top 3. Down the Boeing back straightaway, they're still single file. He cuts the lead to half a second with 5 to go this time by.
Barnes into the wall in turn 3. He smacks the right side of the car. He loses tons of time. As a result of the slam, he loses half a second. Half a second, now the gap overall with 5 laps to go. Can Barnes find a way to eat back in 0.4 seconds to get a chance at Brightsman?
Well, he lost half a second before he even smacked the outside retaining wall in 3, Justin, but now he is trying to reel back in down the Boeing back straightaway. Sean Brightsman up the hill. He's up on the back straightaway. Barnes will now try to drift up against the outside wall barrier. Brightsman will follow. No change in position. 4 to go this time by at the stripe.
Not too much ground game quite yet. Still 1 more lap car to deal with in Frank Harris. Then it's clean sailing for the race leaders. Now graze the wall for Barnes in through turns 1 and 2. He tries to get the diamond down. Brightsman gets the much better exit. Brightsman stretches the gap away. He looks to walk away with 3 to go.
Who will tame the lady in black? The track too tough to tame, or who will get bitten by the same facility? 4, now make it 3 laps to go. Time running out, 3 miles remaining. Sean Brightsman the leader, back to turn 1.
Brightsman didn't get his best exit off turn 4 though. Here comes Barnes. He's again in the wall. Barnes again smacking the right rear corner panel. Tries to get the better power off again. Once again, can't close it up too much. Still within half a second with 2 to go this time.
Fighting that sunlight at the inner of turn 2 to the Boeing back straightaway. All clear daylight now, working off turn number 4. Barnes less than half a second back, trying to reel him in. 2 laps to go. Brightsman, Barnes, that's the race for the finish as they work into turn number 2.
Barnes nearly overran the corner, though. He tries to back it up for the diamond. Brightsman slides a bit of the tires. Barnes not able to get the power quite yet down. Coming up to the white flag this time through turns 3 and 4. Barnes with a massive send.
Lap cars all in the way. Will they be a factor of this race? Right now, they're having their own battle. If they work off turn 4, they come to the line. The CRN1 to go. It all comes down to this. Brightsman, Barnes, final time at Darlington in turn 1. They'll go to the top shelf in the corner.
Barnes has reeled in a 10th the past couple laps. Can he close up enough to get to Brightsman? Barnes, good exit off turn 2. Brightsman looks to try and keep himself away. Barnes, another massive send. Barnes can't get towards him through turns 3 and 4. Both barely avoid the wall.
Barnes can't get there. Lap car not in front of Brightsman as well. He'll come to the line. Checkered flag. Another first-time winner of the season for 2022. And it's the all-time winner of the Northwest Racing Series here tonight at Darlington. He'll pick up his 66th career win in his 286th start. Tucson, Arizona's Sean Brightsman wins here tonight in round 7 at Darlington. Brian Barnes, Mr. Consistency, did all he could. He'll settle for second. Dan West Jr., the dog in the fight for Team LSRTV CRN, compadre to Brightsman, will go to the podium for third. Justin, this race did not disappoint. Down to the wire, it was a matter of who wanted it more. And Sean Brightsman is the man winning tonight at the Lady in Black.
And what can you say when it comes to Brightsman? He picked the time right to try the strategy gamble, taking fuel only. It got him the track position for the rest of the night. And then from there on out, it was more so the timing of trying to pick when would you come in. And guess what? As we've seen, the drivers who came in to pit during the green flag run didn't get back in the conversation after that point. Brightsman was able to take advantage and close into West Jr. in the closing stages to take the checker flag tonight.
The Northwest high five salute underway as we're waiting to see some of his teammates. And there goes Dan West Jr. with the first proverbial blow. Toby Ritters gets a shot in there. So does Kevin Smith, Chris Camary. All other cars plowing in there. There you go. Let the celebration begin. As now Sean Brightsman, John Odenbacher. Big hits. We call it the Northwest High Five Salute. That's the way we do a send-off, Northwest iRacing style, here tonight from Darlington. Let's take a look at the unofficial results. Sean Brightsman picks up the win. Again, it's win number 66 of his career in his 286th start tonight. That goes along with 171 top 5 finishes and 212 top 10s for that driver in the 46. Brian Barnes, another consistent day for him. He'll finish second. Dan West Jr. third. Cole Raz, the truck winner on Thursday here at Darlington, fourth. Carl Burke in the top 5. Chris White had a shot earlier. He'll settle for 6th. Jeff Stabnow as well, 7th. Ryan Bloom, Aaron Cooper, Casey Duncan, Robert Gamble, drivers that we normally mention, Justin, that have problems. A solid top 10.
11th spot tonight goes the direction of Robert Gamble from 17th to 11th, the last car in the lead lap. Casey Garber finishes in 12th. 13th went to Kevin Smith in 00, 1 lap down. Then 2 laps down, John Odenbacher in 14th. 3 laps down was Toby Redders in 15th. Brian Reynolds after his issues in 16th. Troy Daggett pit under green flag conditions after his issues with his hood. In 17th, he hit the incident mark for a black flag penalty. Stephen Paulson, very quiet and rough night, 4 laps down in 18th. Scott Hutchinson, 5 laps down in 19th. Chris Camary finishes in 20th.
21st will go to Frank Harris, 22nd to Matt Gelder, Dana Rogers 23rd, and Tyler Kim in 24th. 25th will find Tyler King, Ron Hunter 26th, Roy Grande 27th, Tristan Wood, Stephen O'Hare, and Dean Moore round out the top 30. Godspeed and travels, and we'll see him in a few weeks if he returns for West Virginia. Now, our Northwest compadre, Will Duvall. BJ Duvall finishes 31st. Alex Duda, 32nd. Dan Lowther and Angel Ortega unable to take the green flag of 34 drivers here tonight at the virtual Darlington Raceway. This race saw a yellow flag of 9 caution flag times. Oh, well, we're going to take you now Coming up, the finish line post-race wrap-up. Oh, and by the way, speaking of finish line, we've got an awesome show lined up for you coming up with Charles Wooten and myself on Wednesday. Guests include ARCA Midwest Tour winner Luke Finhouse, ARCA West Tour winner at Kern County, Landon Lewis, Matt Hirschman, the winner of the 50th most prestigious race of spring, the Sizzler at Stafford, Danny Bowen, the winner of the Hayes Jewelers 200 for the modifieds at Bowman Gray, first ever Carolina Clash winners for Adam Yarborough, the Ultimate Series of Michael Rouse, and Wesley Hawkins to talk about his battle with cancer, his friend Sam Bass, Ed Heinz, and more. That is coming up Wednesday. Finish line. When we come back, it's the finish line post-race wrap-up. Justin and myself will grab a word with Sean Brightsman and the rest of the top three next from Darlington. Hey, welcome back to Finish Line post-race wrap-up. Hey, by the way, I'll have my bug spray in the studio so the show doesn't go close to 3 hours long on Tuesday. Charles Wooten and myself have a great guest lineup included. We just mentioned it before the break, and we are ready to wrap things up. Justin Prince and Wesley Outland back with you at Darlington. And we got a special Justin interview. Brian Barnes, the runner-up, is not available. We'll grab a word with Dan West Jr. in just a moment, third place. But another man that we've not talked to in a while, I've called him the Silver Fox of the Northwest iRacing, is Carl Berg. Carl, what a job for you tonight, man. That 53 looked flawless. I know you got to be happy. It's like a win for you.
Yeah, it was pretty good considering I at one point was in 29th and 2 or 3 laps down. So, yeah, it turned out real good.
Yeah, your best finish of the season for reference, now 5th position, and the previous best around that top 5 a couple times in 2021. Talk us through, though, the battle with this race car tonight, because it seemed to be a difficult place. Hey. pun intended.
Yeah, after we got, smoothed out a little bit, it was a little rough at first. I had to use my fast repair, and so I was just trying to stay out of the way and just log laps.
Carl, I'm going to let you go so you can thank your sponsors, man. But final question and segue. This has got to be a great confidence booster for you to definitely say, hey, man, I got a shot to battle with these guys this year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, coming back from the stroke, I'm finally getting back to my old form somewhat. So it's good again. I'm getting a little faster. So, yes, thank you.
Sponsors, buddy.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Dean and Joni at Cast Iron Cooking. They're a big supporter. And JIM Racing Motors and my team, which William will be back next race, Fletcher, at Team Atlas Finishers. So, yeah, and thank you guys for the broadcasting and all you do.
You're certainly welcome, buddy. It's good to talk with you again, and definitely see that you're battling back from your stroke for sure, man. That's Carl Burke. He is of 6 spots to finish in the top 5 tonight. Cole Raz, honorable mention for him. Truck race winner on Thursday night in Darlington. He'll finish 4th. Dan West Jr., 2-time defending Truck Series champion, and such had a shot to get Sean Breitzman, but Dan, you're taking the race. Me and Justin were saying this off air during preparing for post-race interviews with you. Probably some of the most exciting 30 laps we've seen down the stretch in racing for a while here tonight in the Northwest between you and Breitzman, even Brian Barnes as well. Your take, Dan.
Oh, it was a hell of a run. It was a blast. I was, looking in that mirror, and it was getting fuller and fuller of that 46 and that 4 car lap after lap. So I just was getting tight. I banged up the right front fender early on. I just never got it repaired and just never could keep the right front underneath me.
Yeah, it seemed, again, as we discussed, it was difficult to stay out of the wall. It seemed at portions of the night. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I was about to say, it seemed to be the type of race where being able to stay out of the attrition was a major talking point.
Yeah, and going into this race, this is not one of my favorite tracks. So going into this race, I figured I just got to take care of my stuff and you'll kind of, rise to the top, right? So, and I felt like that's, if you watch the race, the guys were kind of dropping out and we just were hanging out up front. So then things just kind of fell our way with Cole and Garber and Chris pitting that one lap early and going a lap down and allowing us to be out front. So we had the chance. I just didn't, take it. I didn't succeed with it, right? So, but I don't mind losing to guys like Sean Breitzman, Brian Barnes. Those guys are pretty fast. So, all in all, it was a pretty good night.
Justin, we were just talking about this in the race, and Dan, I'll ask you this as well. We are 7 weeks in. What's your take of this car and what it's done for the Northwest Racing Series this year for the Cup car in Season 3?
It's kind of a love-hate relationship, right? I mean, it's got a lot of really good points to it. I like it, but it's got some things that are really unpredictable. The guys on our team have discussed it many times that once it gets loose and gets away, you can't catch it. I mean, there's just no saving it. So it's really unpredictable. But then that's the flip side, right? I mean, it makes it fun. It's a heck of a challenge. So I like it. I'm still learning.
Hey, man, say 3rd place. Before we do let you go, sir, I want you to thank your sponsors as always, Dan.
I'd like to thank Effective Web Solutions, LSRTV, Northwest Racing Series, my teammates. Congratulations to Sean again. Hell of a job, buddy. And Brian Barnes for 2nd. Thanks, guys.
There you go. There's the man out of Shelton, Washington, 2-time defending Truck Series champion of the Northwest. And again, a solid run here tonight battling with Sean Breitzman. He'll finish 3rd. That is, of course, Mr. Dan West Jr. And props to Brian Barnes. Justin, I'll let you throw one word in there before we grab a word with the winner to speak on the runner-up's behalf. Hey, man, consistency. He's doing that. That's putting him right in the hunt to be in the top 5 in the point standings.
An incredible run, I will say, for Brian Barnes. And we mentioned that consistency has been one of the major themes when it comes to Barnes. It's time of the Cup Series, and he utilized that tonight and showcased that throughout this respective evening. Overall, one of his best runs. In fact, the momentum's kind of going his way. in some of these races of late. A 4th at Las Vegas on the 1.5 miles. He also picked up earlier this year Dover 3rd spot. He's looking good when it comes to speedways with this car.
Certainly is, and unfortunately, I'm going to grab a word with him. But now we go right to victory lane to wrap up our finish line post-race show. And, you know, Jeff Stabdown might have the most starts in the Northwest history, but this driver has close to 286 tonight, and he has the most wins of anybody for Northwest Cup Truck and ARCA combined, with 28 poles, 171 top 5s, 212 top 10s after tonight, and add win 66. Sean Brightsman, and what a way to redeem yourself after having traffic cost you to miss the truck race on Thursday. Congratulations, your first win of the year for the Northwest Cup Series.
Yeah, it feels great to be in victory lane and finally put this 46 Brights Boutique Toyota Camry into victory lane. So I love Darlington, love racing here. Wish I was here last Thursday for what could have been, you know, maybe a double down. Who knows, right? That's just going to be up in the air. But big congrats to those guys on Thursday night for their run in the Truck Series.
And it seemed to be a race where the lead was a changing deck of cards, so to speak, in terms of the strategy for flays tonight. The big flay you put in was your signature gamble on the calls. Fuel only during one of the most critical pit stops to be able to get yourself track position. What came down to that decision to say, okay, now's the time to pull this out of the back pocket here early on in this race?
You know, Justin, I wish I had an answer to that. It really just comes down to how many laps we had run and actually how hard I pushed the tires and all that. And during those runs, I didn't push it. So I said, you know what? I think we're going to get some more cautions. I'll just go ahead and fuel up and wait a little later to pit. And it really worked out in the favor. And then with the issues with some of the other guys, it really paid dividends. So really happy with what we chose to do in the heat of the moment in the battle. But overall, it was just it's kind of a wing of the moment with me on pit strategy.
Sean, I don't want to be repetitive in asking this question because I did ask it to Jeff on our in-car during the race, and I did ask Dan West Jr. a few moments ago, but a segue to change it and also mention your sponsors in closing. We're seeing these new cars here, and we're seeing a resurgence of new talent that are showing their opportunities and strengths to come up and compete with guys like yourself. What does that mean to the series in general, and what does it mean to know that that's got to be more competitive for your part to have to beat?
I think it means the world. You know, the next-gen car, it's tough. I mean, it's not easy. I didn't have a lot of laps under practice, and a lot of it was spent just, you know, kind of riding at the start of the race. So it's seeing these other guys, Carl Burke, Brian Barnes, Brian Barnes is fast, and no matter which way you cut it. So it's not surprising he actually took over the Cup Series points lead. So he's the points leader. But it's no surprise to me some of these guys are making a charge, putting in a lot of effort, putting in a lot of practice, and it's just showing that they've got a better feel for the car. Where some of us that arrive and drive are having to figure things out for a while and might get lucky, might not. So I think it's just elevating the Northwest Racing Series talent, and it's just going to get harder to win.
All right, man, before I let you go, thank your sponsors.
I got to thank Brights Boutique. Check us out at Etsy, etsy.com/Brights Boutique. Custom-made earrings, clay figurines, things like that. If you're looking for things for your girlfriend to support your racing, we might be able to make some custom numbers for her to go ahead and support your racing out in the stands. So look at us up on Brights Boutique on Etsy. Again, appreciate it. And thank you guys at LSRTV, everybody at our team for the hard work we put in. Barrio Brewing and Central Welding Supply. Thank you guys.
66 career win in the Northwest for Cup Truck ARCA combined for the driver, originally from Puyallup, Washington, now from Tucson, Arizona. Sean Brightsman wins round 7 here tonight at the virtual Darlington Raceway. The track too tough to tame. Well, we're going to wrap things up from Darlington. Justin, are we going to go to the camera? No camera? Yes, camera? Let's just be off camera and wrap things up real quick, Justin, man. Your final take of this race, it was fun, it was exciting, and when it's all said and done, I think probably we've seen the best final 30 laps of the race down the stretch between three drivers: Sean Brightsman, Dan West Jr., Brian Barnes, and of course, the talent what this new next-gen car provides. And then it's on to Kansas next week for the Cup Series, Thursday night, this Thursday for the trucks. Always fun working with you, buddy. Your take on the night at Darlington.
Well, it definitely lived up to its expectations of being a very difficult race for many, because that's the thing. It's the place they call Too Tough to Tame for a reason. It's very difficult to avoid a Darlington stripe. It's difficult to tame this circuit from the get-go. And in the end, the drivers who were able to minimize their mistakes as well as stay out of the wall the most were the ones who were able to keep up towards the very end, especially with the reference West Jr. made to his respective aero damage. Kansas, if any indication's been put in with some of the races we've seen this season on the NASCAR side and in the Northwest Racing Series, that may be a very busy night. And then you factor in the week after when it comes to the Circuit of the Americas, you better get ready to go left and right at a very big racetrack if you want to score some big points, because that is going to be a massive challenge.
That's exactly right. And it will be for the next 5 weeks before we do take off again for the Memorial Day break. For everybody in the Community Radio Network, for Charles Wheaton, Jeff Stabnow, and iRacing on LSRTV, for all of our crew, for Mr. Justin Prince, I'm Wesley Outland. Congratulations, Sean Brightsman, winner, round 7 tonight at Darlington. Be good to one another. We're back with the Northwest Trucks with Samuel